Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our second episode of homeschooling. My name is Wendy Glenn, and I am a homeschool mom of three.
And I'm Jennifer Cole, and I only have one homeschooling right now.
Great. And tonight we are going to talk about what happens when your kid gets ready to go off to college, or what should you do to get your kid ready for college um, or high school, right? High school and college for us has been kind of one and the same, right? I have my oldest son has just graduated from Lamar State College Orange, and he is now actually, Jen, you're the only person who hasn't gotten this text message because I want to see your face tonight. He now has his official acceptance letter into
Oh,
Stephen F.
yay!
Austin. So they have
Yay!
accepted his homeschool transcript and have it on their file and have his college transcripts, and they have now officially accept him. So
Excellent.
that is where my oldest is going to be going next year, is to Stephen F. Austin.
So we decided to do kind of a backwards version of everything. Instead of
Yes.
starting with the littlest kids and going all the way up, we're going to start at the older kids and go backwards because my child is ready to enter this part where we're doing a dual credit program, and her son, as you can see, just completed that part of the program. And a lot of people are asking a lot of questions. So
Yes.
this
And
is
it
why
is
we're doing it this
possible,
way.
right? It is possible for you to homeschool and for your child to go off to college, right? It's super simple, super easy, and it's actually super cheap if you want to look at the big
Yes.
scope of things, right? You're going to give them a great head start into all the things by doing it this way, the way that we've done it.
Less
So it's
expensive and much more efficient as far as their time goes. So
absolutely yes. So instead of doing the traditional high school and then college, we enrolled our son into college during high school. And all the high schools, local high schools here in Texas, have what's called dual credit. A lot of the high schools all around the country are starting to do this. I know when I was in high school, they didn't really have anything. Wasn't really a thing yet. But it's dual credit where you can go to college and still be in high school. Now, for public school kids, when they go, they are only allowed to take certain classes. They're allowed to get their Englishes and things like that out of the way, their math, some stuff like that. But they're not allowed to get degrees necessarily through most high schools. I don't know, maybe some do, but I know the local ones here usually do not. They're only allowed to get certain things. But as a homeschooler, you can sign your child up for dual credit and they can get degrees. My son graduated in December with his associate's degree. So he does actually have an associate's degree from our local state college.
so why don't we start at the beginning?
Yes,
Whereas when is your child ready for this program? Because
yes.
normally for a homeschooler, we have to decide, do we want to just put our child through a homeschool curriculum for high school, or do we want to embark on this dual credit journey? So, what are the criteria that we need to have in order to make sure that our kid can be successful at this program?
Yes. Well, we're talking about local state community colleges, right? So it's not going to be a super hard program. It is going to be more like a high school-ish, maybe a little bit harder than high school program, right? I mean, it is college, so it's going to be a little bit harder. So when is your child ready? Well, can they write a paper that is roughly 1,000 words? Do they understand that they are actually going to be, even if it's online program, they're going to be in a class with adults, so they may see swear words, right? They may see some things that are maybe not appropriate, or they may already, depending on your household, already know those words, but they have to understand that they are going to possibly see those words, right? I mean, some households, my growing up, my household, I would have known what those words are. So
My
you have to
household
understand.
versus Mary's household.
you have
No
to
bad
understand.
words. Sorry.
You have to understand that your child may see some swear words, right? You have to understand that your child has to be able to do the work. right? So
There's going
if
to be
they're in high
mature
school,
content,
right?
right? It's
Yes.
going to be
And
mature content because we're dealing with
adults,
also adults,
mostly.
college
Yes.
age children too. So,
Yes. And well, even at community colleges, there's some people that are like go back to school. So there could be actually adults, right? So
mm,
they're going to be all ages there. When else in life do you get put into a room with people all your age? Only in public school, right? Everywhere else, we have to deal with people of all ages. So they have to understand that there's going to be people of all ages in there. Can they write 1,000-word paper? Can they understand that they're going to be in a class, even if it's online, in a class, in a group setting of some sort, with other adults and other kids their age potentially. So before we started on this journey, we went to two local community colleges. We went to LIT and we went to Lamar, and we talked to both of them. In Lamar Orange was the better fit for us, but we did ask how young is too young. And LIT told us that they had 10-year-olds there. So
wow.
10-year-olds, if a 10-year-old can do it, a 10-year-old can go, right? I mean, we always see it in the news, this 15-year-old just graduated college or whatever. It can
Mm.
be done, and it can be done through homeschooling as well.
Well, and for example, my son is 12. So he's
Yes.
going to be starting at 12, soon to be 13. I don't know when the fall semester starts. Does it start in August or
August.
September? August?
August.
Okay, so he'll start at 12 and he'll turn 13 in September. So that's what age will be. So then when you're thinking about doing this, you have to make a decision of whether you're going to take a career path or if you're going to take an educational path.
Yes. Yes. And when choosing your college, you have to figure out too if they have online classes, if that's going to be the direction you want. If your child's young, like Jennifer's son, she's probably going to want him to stay at home and do online classes versus going to the college, right? So, online versus college, most colleges have online curriculums now that they can do from the comfort of their home. And then you are there to help them along as their high school teacher, as and guide them through things that again maybe they haven't seen, or a lot of us, anybody who's been through college knows that sometimes your professors will give you a paper and it can be very leading, like you can read what the teacher wants and you as an adult will know what they want you to say regardless if that's how you feel or not, because sometimes that happens, like you may have a different opinion but you know that the teacher is leading you in the opposite direction. So you can have these conversations with your children at home versus them going, to an online campus, or to go and onto the campus without you. Or some colleges actually will even allow you to go with them if they're too young.
Yeah. So some of the classes in the beginning, like especially for Orion, when he's deciding on his direction of study, I'm going to want his earlier classes to be online. But as he progresses further through the program, I'm not opposed to him actually going to the school for some of the classes. And I would motivate him to do it on his own. I might be close by, but I would not want to be next to him. So I want him to be able to do things on his own. So this will be a good activity for him also to learn how to do things more independently, which will push him slightly outside of his comfort zone. And that's what he needs. Um, so for my son, I don't really know whether he's going to want more of a vocational path or an educational path, but I'm going to start him on an educational path because he couldn't tell me right now what vocation he wanted if he'd tried. So we're going to choose the best educational path that we can. Um, but the schools do offer certifications and vocational
And
direction.
vocational, yes.
So if you want to
Yes,
talk about that a little
LIT.
bit.
Yes, so LIT offers like welding and right now I will call it a career path. It's kind of a vocational thing and a career path at the same time. Right now, because my son has graduated with his business degree, he obviously can't continue his last semester because he graduated in December, but still had a semester of high school left. So he's actually taking more classes post graduation. And so he had to change his degree. So right now he's in a more of a career path type vocational degree. He's right now he's doing process operating. So he's taking a uh, OSHA class, intro to process operating, and an algebra class. And so those things are all offered like so process operating maritime is actually offered at Lamar Orange if you're here locally. Just check your community colleges. Some offer welding, some offer um, electrical stuff, you know, instrumentation, all that kind of stuff. So just check into it, because I will say this, and we'll hit this really fast, that um, doing dual credit is so much cheaper
Yes.
than after you graduate high school and trying to go to college or even a vocational school. Vocational schools, everybody says, oh, we'll go to vocational school, but we need more people like that. And we absolutely do. Some you can get into a program and they're free, right? If you work so long for a company, you can get those free. That could be a way to go and cheaper, but not everybody gets those type you know, programs, right? Not, they're not everywhere, they're not necessarily widespread. So the college offers them, and it is so much cheaper to go through the college versus sometimes
Yes.
a you know, a regular um vocational
Vocational
school.
school for an adult, right?
Yes.
So, they also offer a lot of IT certifications. Some of the security
Yes.
certifications that are pretty pricey to get as an adult, you can get them through the dual credit program for much less. And we discovered that the credit hour pricing difference is a difference of about $45 per credit hour versus about $345 per credit hour. So the price does increase significantly when they consider you to be an adult and they start
Yes.
charging you post high school actual college prices. So this is a
Yes.
chance for your child to get in and get that college credit without paying that high dollar college price tag. So
Yes. Let me just say real quick too, not every child is going to want to do a vocation and or um a career path or a degree path, right? There are some kids that are just not there. They're not going to do this. I mean, for my kids, it was you have to do something, right? You have to I kind of push them towards this, but you just to choose, right? Some kids, I'm just going to stop and say that some kids do not have that in them to do vocational or a degree path or a career path, right? And I'm going to just put in my
if,
2 cents
yeah,
that
if
those two
school,
kids, those kids, right? Once you finish your program or start picking out your high school program, there are lots of um, programs out there that'll actually give you an accredited high school diploma. That's something to look into too, because if your child is not going to do a career type path, right? Um, you may find it that they have to have their GED or maybe even look into their GED after. Because depending on what job they want to get after, their job may not accept your high school diploma, right? So they
yes,
may need something with a little bit
yes.
more
If you have a child
accreditation
that's
behind it.
Yeah, if you have a child that's just a get a job kid, right? You know that
Yes,
they're just going to get out of school. They're
and
not
get a
school
job.
kids. They're just going to go out there and get a job. They may need a GED. They may not be able
Yes.
to graduate from the high school of your kitchen table. So,
Yes. Yes. Or there's a couple of satellite programs around. I know, again, if you're in this area, Southeast Texas, there's one over in Louisiana or Louisiana, you know, Southwest Louisiana. There is one over there that
right,
is you just go pick up your work every couple of weeks and then
right.
bring it back and turn it
So
in, and you'll get an
maybe
accredited
just,
high school, and it's still at home.
right,
And it's still at home. It's not, you know, you don't have to send your kid off to regular public high school. It's still at home. It's just a different program.
right. So your kid can still get an accredited GED or diploma at home and not be on this super fast highway to college, which some kids
Right.
just aren't necessarily interested in doing. Um,
Exactly.
and that's okay
Exactly.
too. Like your kids do not have to be overachievers just because you want them to be. Like they're not always all going to do that, right? I am an overachiever, but my kids aren't all that. And sometimes if you put all of this pressure onto them to do what you expect them to do and it's not their cup of tea, then they're not going to really find the place where they're happy and where they can be successful. So it's kind of a hard thing between where you want to push them enough that they're not being lazy or making excuses, but also not so much that you're making them feel like they're not capable and they're not going to be successful. So make sure you really are trying to stay in tune with what your child feels and not just pushing your ideology and your ambitions onto them, right?
Right. So, the first step, once you've decided all of this, right? So for me and my kids, I told them they're either going to go to college or, I mean, I do tell them, I do threaten to go send them back to public school. Like you can go to college or you can go back to public school. But like I said, there are other programs out there. So Dylan decided to go to, like I said, after we went, and I highly recommend going around and looking at all the different programs because not every community college, not every, even Lamar University in Beaumont has some dual credit. It's just not enough to get a degree. So I wanted him to actually have some kind of degree, right, for his high school career path, right? Career period, right? So you can start at, like I said, as young as 10 or whenever you feel comfortable. They can take one or two classes at a time, or you can do like what we did, and he went to college full time. Um, Jennifer, I know she's going to start with her son is going to be one or two classes at a time, right?
Right. We're
And
going to start
that,
getting the easy stuff out of the way
yes,
because
yes,
I can kind of, in order to, and we're going to get ahead of ourselves with some of these things, but
that's all right.
um, in order to take a math or a language arts class, you have to pass the TSI test.
Yes,
So my son is going to be working on some of this requirements that he'll need in order to pass the TSI test, while he's also taking some of the classes at Lamar that you do not require passing the TSI test to take.
yes.
So we'll be doing both of those things simultaneously, working towards the goal of passing the TSI, but also getting some of the easy things out of the way that take time. So once we get to classes that are more math intensive or writing intensive, where it takes more time, he won't have as many classes on his plate to worry about. And that's kind of my goal with him with
So
that.
when you're filling out your application, whatever you put down as your child's graduation is their graduation. So for us, we held Dylan back because full time is 4 classes per semester. And to get your associate in 2 years, you have to do 5 classes per semester. So we gave him an extra year so that he could do 4 classes, which was full time per semester, 8 classes a year. And have that extra time to finish his degree and a little bit extra if he needed it, which is where we're at right now.
So whatever your
Um,
graduation date is that you
so
pick,
yeah, what that
that
is it.
is the date.
That is
And
it.
after
Yes,
that, there
especially if
is
they're over
no more.
18 at that time. So
Yes.
some call it like LIT, even though we have some friends that we know, they're girls. She graduated them from their high school program, and LIT still took them as dual credit students because they were under 18. So it's 18 or whatever you put down. My son is actually going to be 19, and that's okay too. So 18, 19, anytime in that age range, whatever you put down as their graduation date will be the last time that they can get dual credits. So you want to really think about that date and just make sure your child can get in what they need to get in that school. That being said, I felt bad, right? I'm just saying I felt bad because my son was supposed to graduate. Had he stayed in public school, stayed in the public school system, he would have graduated last May, and I'm not graduating him until this year. And so I'm like, I felt like he was behind, right? He was behind all the kids that he went to school with. And now that he has graduated and he's about to go to Stephen F. Austin, I look at it and I go, you know what? You're really not behind. Your high school is behind, but in general, right? Yes, in the big picture of things, you're not behind because when you go off to school, you're going to be in your third year when your friends and your peers that are going back to school next year, they're going into their second year. And you've already done year 1 and year 2, and you're going into year 3. So you're actually going to be a year ahead of
Mhm.
your peers, even though
So,
you're not graduating for a year later.
right. Even though his high school
Yeah.
education wasn't technically completed until a year after all the other students, he graduated high school with an associate's degree for college. So then starts in, instead of as a freshman like all the other students, starts in his junior year. So
Yes.
still ahead.
Yes. Still, he's still a year ahead of all his peers that he would have graduated with.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it made me feel bad at first, but the more we talk about it and the more, we're getting prepared for him to go off to college next year, it's it's really sinking in that he is actually ahead of all his peers.
Well, and the other thing is that for some children that need extra help and extra time, and they aren't neurotypical children, and maybe can't handle the stress of all of these classes at one time and all of the stress of school at one time. This gives them an opportunity to have the time they need to assimilate into a college program, to maybe potentially go just a couple of classes at a time and dip their toe in, so they aren't overwhelmed and just destined to fail at college. And I was concerned about my son because he takes a minute to get comfortable with things. And I was like, ooh, college, that's so much. I mean, even for a regular person, just moving out of your house, changing your whole financial situation, trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, and then all of these classes and responsibilities and tests and everything, and it's huge. But being able to do a little at a time, I think I actually have a chance of my child being very successful in college, whereas in a normal situation, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like I said, this is it. You can pick and choose, right? So they can do like one class a year or two classes a year to begin with. And then the older they get, you can put in some more classes, right? So, I mean, in theory, they could graduate from high school with two associates and then go off to, a regular college. Or not, right? I mean, you could do a career path type thing, like a vocational type thing, and a business degree or an accounting degree or whatever that may be, right? And you can do them both. And then when they're done. And they may not actually go off to university because they have all they need to go off and start their careers, right? I
Right.
mean,
It
it
just depends on what they
it's
want to
just
do. And
unlimited. Homeschooling is unlimited options, right? And if it's not working, change it, right?
mhm.
That's If it's not working, change it.
And
I mean,
even with this program, if you start them early and they have a lot of time to decide, they can change their course of study in the middle.
oh
I mean,
yeah,
they may have to take an extra class or two, but you can still change your mind on things.
absolutely. Absolutely. So now to finish and get your degree, they do, not you, they have to pass the TSI. This is the only time my son ever went to the actual college. He did everything online except for the TSI. So it is important to find a college that is fairly local because they will have to go to take the TSI. You can do almost any, I keep saying you, but they can do any class that is offered at the college except for anything that has a prereq of an English. They cannot do any English and they cannot do any math. That being said, my son did accounting one and accounting two, which isn't considered a math before he passed the TSI, which
The
was a
business
little
class.
because they were business classes, exactly because he got his business degree and they were business classes. But um, he
He
did have
had
to
the
pass.
fun job of having to pass the TSI to take
Yes,
one math
one
class.
one math class exactly, and he still hates it for that. But now he's in his second math class right now, so he did have to pass it. But so they have to get a what is it, a 950 on math, a 4 on the essay for English, and I think it's a 940. Don't quote me on that. I'm really
Right.
I don't
So
remember
there's
what it
like an
was for the
English
English.
grammar portion of the
Yes,
test. There is a
yes,
math portion of the test,
yes,
which
and then
has Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 included in
yes,
it. And then there is
yes,
an essay writing portion of the test.
yes,
And these are
yes.
all
There is.
separate,
They are,
right?
but they can take them all together. And when the first time they take the English, so it was um $25. So the English part is the English part and the essay part are together. Now, if they fail, like say they pass the English part and then they fail the essay part, which is what Dylan did, they can go back and just take the essay part that they failed.
Right.
Um, Now, that being said, they have to pass the essay. It has to be written in a very specific way. You can ask questions. We'll try to answer those in the comment section. We will try to answer those. It's kind of
And we will
complicated.
probably do a separate
Yeah,
a separate thing
a
on
separate little
TSI
thing.
prep,
Yes,
right? Because
because
that is
yes,
a whole different beast. And we have
absolutely.
some TSI prep books that we'll be able to
Yes,
recommend and some online prep and all of that. So we will do a
yes.
separate session on TSI prep,
TSI.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
But
yes.
that's
So,
what it needs to be able to pass. And you can
yes,
take other classes and go to the school,
yes.
but you cannot take math or English and you
No,
cannot graduate unless you
no.
have that TSI test
Yes.
passed.
And you have to have an everybody has to have an English composition and a math to pass with your to get your associate's degree.
Right. So
Everybody
when
has to
you
have
look
that. So
at the
you have to have,
classes, yes,
yes,
when you look at the classes, and this is what Wendy and I did, and I was really, this is what convinced me that this was the correct path, is that a lot of the core requirements for this dual credit program are exactly the same as the classes that are required for high school. Like
exactly.
they're the
History
same
one,
class.
history two. Yes.
You have to take, yes, 2 years of
US,
history.
yeah, US
Okay.
history one and US history two.
Yeah, it's the same. You have to take a speech class. You
Yes.
have to
Public
take
speaking.
a writing
An
class.
English composition. Yeah.
Right. So all of these classes are the same classes that we all took in high school, and everybody else has to take them. About, I think we figured out about two-thirds of their classes are just core requisites anyways. They're the
Mhm.
same classes that everybody has to take. So you're only going in there and picking a major or a course of study for about, I don't know, half a dozen some odd classes, really.
Yeah. If
The
that.
rest of
Yeah.
them are all just standard required classes.
Yep. So
Um,
many electives. So many. Yeah, they are.
but the
I
rest
mean,
are
so
pretty much the same.
yes.
So that's why I thought, if I tell my child with ASD that he's going to take US History 1 and US History 2 in high school, and then tell him he's going to take it again in college, he's going to tell me that I've lost my mind because he hates to repeat things. Like repetition is the enemy. Like, tell me once, I'm good. Teach me once, I'm good. And yeah, so he will be very happy not to have to do all of these things twice. So it'll be good for him.
Exactly. Um, Now, if your child is going through this and just cannot pass the TSI math, I get it. Dylan did have to take it quite a few times. Um, you can graduate them from high school. They can go back to the college after high school and they can take what is it called? It's a remedial math, right?
Media
And
math.
they can take that instead of the TSI, but they cannot do that as a high school student. You have to have graduated and pay full tuition to be able to take that remedial math to then get your diploma that they've done everything else for.
But the point is that you can put them in this program, and if
Yes.
everything is terrible with this test and they test poorly, they're still going to have the benefit of the classes that they took
Yeah, and
because it
those
would
aren't going to
still
go away.
count towards their high school diploma. So no
Yes.
matter what, they will graduate high school, and then you can decide at that point how you want to approach college, right? They won't go in with an associate's degree. They'll go in with credits just like a normal high school student.
Yes.
And you start at the beginning
Yes.
like everybody else, which
Absolutely.
is,
Well, no, they don't start quite at the beginning. They start actually still a little further ahead. If all they haven't taken is like that one math class, right?
yeah.
Or whatever it is, they'll still be ahead. They
Well,
just
because
won't
all the
be
credits do
that far.
transfer to local
Yes.
Texas colleges. And it says that right on the dual credit program. When you pull it up, it says all these credits transfer to all Texas schools. So it will let you know like which ones transfer and which ones don't. Because that was my
Yes.
biggest thing was like, well, do the credits transfer? Because you hear all these horror stories about, you know, do they apply? Don't they apply? And Wendy has a little bit of a story about that too, whether or not credits apply. Your penny story.
Oh, yes. So
I'm
my
skipping
penny
ahead to
story.
the penny
Yes.
story.
My penny story. Okay. I'm not there yet. Wait a minute. Where's
Hold
my
on, hold on.
penny
No,
story?
it's the
No,
next
I got
page.
it. I know what my penny story is, though. I know what it is. So my penny story is, yes, we know this lady who her mom homeschooled her all the way through high school. She actually went to our local university, and then she wanted to go on and go to graduate school, right? She wanted to go on past her bachelor's. And the local university here accepted her mom's high school transcripts, and she went for 4 years and got her bachelor's. Now, when she went applied to other colleges to go on, she got accepted into two of them. One said, yes, we will take you, come here, and you can go on. One said, yes, we will accept you, but you have to go get your GED first.
Now,
And
mind
so
you, this girl has a
has
bachelor's
already have a
degree
bachelor's degree.
already.
Exactly. Yes,
We're
already has a
just
bachelor's
talking
degree.
about accepting into the master's program.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so where do you think she went? I mean,
Not
go get
to
your
go
G
back and get her GED.
go back and get her GED, or go the one who accepted her mom's high school diploma as well. So obviously she went to that one, and she went on, and now she has a PhD. So
Right.
it's all possible. You have to look at the colleges, look at what they're going to accept, look at what their requirements are. You know, every college is different, but when they're coming in with already a degree, some colleges will look at it differently. Obviously, some will not, right? And so, like I just said, Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches accepted our high school transcripts. And Jennifer, do you want to share
Yes,
the
because I think
transcripts
we
they?
discussed everything else so far on this list when I skipped you ahead to the Penny story. So,
Yes, exactly. But do you want to share the high school
yes.
transcript real
So,
quick? And
mhm,
we will.
I'm going to move.
Now, I graduated my son with 23 credits, right? So if you Google it, Texas, you graduate somewhere between 22 and 26, because some high schools actually allow you to get some um, what is some career type stuff, right? So I know our local high school here, they allow you to get like start off in cosmetology or start in welding or things like that, right? Our
Like
local high school.
vocational, it's vocational
Yes, our
training,
local
right?
high school allows kids to do that through the school. Now, that being said, so again, high school or Texas says that you when you graduate high school, you need between 22 and 26 credits. So, here is a what we're showing you is uh, a template of a high school transcript. This is what I used to get my son into Stephen F. Austin. And I just, took out where it says, Hebrew history and whatever those are. Yes, I took those out, and I put in what he took for those years. Now for credits, if it's a full year class, I gave him 1 credit. If it was a semester class, I gave him a half a credit. And even with everything, right now, you have to also go back to what Texas says you have to teach, right? And you can use whatever you want where you want. We'll just say that. So, like, even though accounting one and accounting two isn't really technically considered a math class, we used it because he did have to do math. We used it as math classes for for the year that he took those, right? Um,
Right. So
so
what I'm going to do here, for example, is
you're
because
going to
this is
take
going to
what
be
your
the
son's
high
doing.
school, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my son will be in the beginning taking a history, the U.S. History 1 class, and then
Yes.
some sort of a science class at Lamar. And then he's
Yes.
also going to take the freshman high school language arts and algebra 1, and then eventually algebra 2, and all of
Yes.
that simultaneously while we're taking the classes at Lamar. So all of that will go onto this transcript because
Yes.
you're going to need more classes for your child to graduate high school than necessarily what would be offered at Lamar.
Yes. But again, going back to what Texas says you have to teach, right? So they also need something like good citizen. You have to teach good citizenship, right? That's like a civics class. So I put that on my son's transcript, right? He,
And they can use, like, if they're doing some sort of volunteer work or an
yes,
internship, or,
yes,
there's a lot of things that your children can be involved in that
that
is,
aren't necessarily school,
yeah,
but
that's not
yes,
actually like some sort of a class at a school, but it's
exactly.
still involving them in the community and teaching them things.
Yes,
My son is in Civil Air Patrol. Her son is in Civil Air Patrol. There's
yes.
activities there also that are probably appropriate in some point to put in
We
here.
Yes, well, we use last year my son went away for the summer and worked as a camp counselor at a youth camp. And so we use that as well. Not only that, in high school, they have to take driver's ed now, even actually until you're in Texas, until you're 24, you have to take driver's ed. So driver's ed went on there. So you can get extra classes just by everyday things that your child is doing and not necessarily textbook, you know, he sat here for this long and did this, and I graded these, and this is the grade he got. No, he went through the, I think it's Aceable, right, online, and my father-in-law taught him how to drive, and he went and got his driver's license. So he passed driver's ed.
Well, and
Um,
also like for
and
example, my household is a big like healthy eating, physical fitness household, and
mhm,
my child's going to spend a lot of time the next 4 to 6 years with me, learning about diet, learning about health, exercising at the gym, and all of these things that apply to a health class or a wellness class. He's going to learn about supplementing and vitamins, and so this is a lot of things that I'm going to teach him that I can add to his curriculum if we're spending a significant amount of time working on it.
absolutely, absolutely. So don't be afraid that you need more classes. You can take things out of uh, their real life goings on, what they're actually doing in their lives, and put those on their high school transcripts for classes.
Mhm.
Now,
Right.
I also use this too to get him into college. I took 90% of it off and just used 1 year for eighth grade to give it to the, or I guess ninth grade, I guess, and gave it to the college for what he had done beforehand. So to get into college, you are going to need some kind of transcript um, to give to the college to show that they've been doing something. It does
Right.
not have to be notarized when you go to the college to get them into college, but once they've graduated high school, if you'll notice, Jennifer, if you'll scroll down a little bit, right here it says Notary Public. It does have to be notarized. It absolutely has to be notarized. That was very important for Stephen F. Austin to accept it. So once
When
it's a
they're
high
done with
school,
high school.
yes,
Right.
once it's a high school, and I took off all this PSAT, SAT stuff because Dylan did not take those. So I took
No, but
all of
we're
that
going to
off of
put
there.
a TSI test score there,
You
right?
can put the TSI, yes, on there. I actually, we don't have all of his scores, so Dylan's actually doesn't even have those on there currently. I do want to put them on for future times if he ever needs this again. But yes, we did have to get it notarized before we sent it in. That is very important for end of high school, not so much going into college. They just need something saying that these are the classes they
Basically,
took last year.
you need
Yep,
one of
just
these
that.
squares worth. That's what
Yes,
you'll need to get in. And then you'll need
yes,
to fill this in as you go with what you're doing at home and what you're doing at the school. And
yes.
combined total you'll come up with, I'm sure, more than enough information to
Oh,
graduate them from
yes,
high school.
absolutely.
Now,
Yes,
as
you
far
will.
as Lamar, the Lamar programs are 60 credits, which is college credit hours, which
Yes,
equals about 20 high school credits, because each
yes.
class at Lamar is about
A semester.
a semester long, 3 to 4
Yes,
credit hours, depending on if there's a lab or not. It's scored and calculated a little bit differently than they will for
yes,
a high school transcript.
yes. And I will say this too. I've been told, and I've been told by people who took dual credit in high school, their high school upped their college grade um, for their high school transcripts. So like and they took an English class in dual credit, right, for dual credit, and they got a B. Well, the high school gave them 10 extra points and it ended up being an A. And they have an A for their high school transcript and a B for their college transcript. I did not feel comfortable doing that. So I just wrote down what he got for his grades and passed him, that way. But it is something that you can actually do as well. Like I said, I just didn't really feel comfortable doing that, but it is something that regular public schools do. It is something that is, I guess, acceptable if you chose to do that.
You can give them bonus points for being an
Yes.
overachiever.
Yes, for going to college because it's supposed to be harder than high school.
Because it's harder. It's
Yes.
also less boring. So if you have a child that does have a big brain and they really need to be challenged or want to be challenged, this is definitely the way to do it because they'll get all of the bonus points of being a college student and getting college credit, but also none of the boredom of having to be in a class with a lot of other children that may not be at the level they are or can move as quickly as them. And when you're doing things online, you can do them as fast as you can. So,
Yes.
um, much more quickly, not held back by other students. And that's the one of the biggest benefits I think is because my son, when he's done with something, he's ready to move on to the next thing. And if you keep him on the same thing over and over, he's just going to get bored and get in trouble.
Yes. Yes. So I really hope this was helpful. We need to um,
Yeah, I think that's
wrap this up.
it. Yeah, is this it?
Yes, this is
Looks
it.
like
We've
it.
gone through
Good.
everything, I think. Maybe not. If we've missed anything, please feel free to
Yes.
like, subscribe, and leave comments below. And if you have any questions, we will get back with you and maybe have to make another one. But again, I truly believe that, like I said, I mean, not that your child has to at 10 years old decide what they want to be when they grow up, but this is definitely a great option to help them decide so that when they're 25, they still don't know what they want to be when they grow up, or even just to help you so that you're like, a lot of moms homeschooling, moms or dads homeschooling, they get through this part where they just start freaking out about high school, right? And it's not hard.
No.
I realize that because I was one of
Really,
them. I was
yes.
one of them, and it's not as hard as it
Well, and you're
feels
just
like it,
helping them
right?
build up an arsenal of tools, right? Like
Yes,
they don't have to go whichever direction they pick with this. They can get their associates in whatever they want and then still go to college for something else. I mean, how many people do you
absolutely.
know that have a bachelor's degree in one thing and then they decided, oh, I'm going to go to law school or I'm going to go to school for this or you know what, scrap it
Exactly.
all. I'm going to be a realtor, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
And
just a good foundation. It absolutely
mhm.
is. And then you've been there and you've been able to hopefully help them through it so that they're more likely to succeed in the next step, right? It's just a continuation of, by this time they should be able to do some things on their own. And, you're just there holding their hand for the first little steps. So when they go off, they can be more productive and not need that, like, and be as lost as some kids are just leaving high school and going to a college.
And not being overwhelmed because they've already had a
Yes,
chance to get their foot in, realize what that takes, and experience some of the stress without being in a situation where they're going to, you know, blow a whole year of their life and $20,000 of their student loan money on a
exactly.
total failure. Here, you're looking at it could be 2 or 300 bucks,
Yes.
and they have a chance to like just get in the door and figure it out on their own and develop some real life skills at their own pace.
Yes, exactly. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, leave
Subscribe, hit the bell.
comment. Yes. All right. And we will
Thanks.
see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.